Dude, what the hell did they do this year?
All right, let's wrap up with the San Antonio Spurs.
Wow.
Spurs. So ironically, they were one of the more active teams in free agency. They entered with $50 million in cap space and left with Doug McDermott and Zach Collins and Al-Farouq Aminu. So big day for the Spurs. But no, I mean they get some veterans in.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the new guys first. Big buckets, great 3-point shooter. This could be their Davis Bertans replacement. What do you expect out of him this year?
Well, given what they paid and what they had available for the money, I'm hoping for a career year at the very least. I'm hoping he turns into Paul Pierce, which was his pre-draft comp. Dude, what the hell did they do this year? Like, let's just look at this situation here.
Yeah.
You were asking, you just said they had 50 million. No, it wasn't 50 million, right? Was it 35?
I think it was 50.
Was it 50? All right. And the first question you're asking me is, so how will Doug McDermott do? If that isn't the perfect way of looking at their offseason, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
What the hell? Zach Collins for that amount of money, $22 million over 3 years? Yeah. I understand that it's only partially guaranteed. I get it, but dude, this season is this summer. It was. I'm very underwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
So I can answer your question, but instead, I think maybe we should talk about what the hell are they doing.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, I like the Zach Collins one. I actually don't mind because it was 3 years, $22 million, I think, but most of it is not guaranteed.
Right.
I want to say. So
but the guy is clearly made out of glass, though.
Right. I mean, it's a fair concern, but they gave themselves enough outs that I actually like the gamble. Because the guy was a top 10 pick a couple of years ago, and has upside if he can stay healthy. It's just if he can stay healthy, it's a huge concern there.
Should he be one of the featured signings? Is what I'm getting at.
Well, it's $7 million. It's not like
this was one of their most featured signings of the year
because they spent half of their cap space they spent on the DeMar sign and trade, bringing back Thad and Aminu. They only, their only two big signings were McDermott and Collins.
I get that. Even so, though, it feels if you're going to be swinging on Collins, who are they bidding against is kind of what I'm wondering here.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because cap space dried up quickly.
Right. I mean, look, Isaiah Hartenstein is still on the market, presumably gettable for the mint deal. I would take that over Zach Collins at this rate.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I hear you, but at the same time, if Collins does stay healthy and hits, I think he has much higher upside than Hartenstein or anyone else on the market at this point. Again, it's you're gambling on health.
Let's look at it. What is his upside? What is Zach Collins' upside? What is a fully optimized, fully maximized Zach Collins? What is he?
Probably. I mean, he could. Ideally, he's a guy who can play either position.
Uh-huh.
He has a 3-ball. He's not a high volume 3-point shooter, but he's he shot. All right, it's a 19 shot sample size. I'm not even going to mention that. But the year before, he shot 33%. So it's not like he's a complete zero in that regard.
And he played 17 minutes a game in college, so we have not seen him play under any sort of high role capacity since high school.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he can't stay healthy, too. I'm not saying this isn't without risk, but the fact that they have so many outs from it, it's you're paying him 1 year, $7 million.
Right.
There's a decent probability that he gets hurt again or doesn't quite live up to it, and then you just get out. But if not, if he does stay healthy, then
you have him.
Chances are he's earning a lot more than the $7.4 million that he's going to earn next year. Like, if he was a free agent next offseason, he stays healthy, he has a great year, he's going to make more than the $7.4 million that he's now under contract for. So you're potentially overpaying him this year, risking the health, risking whatever, for the chance of we might have this guy under contract for 2 more years at a bargain rate.
I get that logic. What I wonder is, one, could they have gotten him for even cheaper? Because I wonder if there was even a market for him. Mm-hmm. Secondarily, when I look at his statistical profile dating back to college, there's just no evidence that he's ever been someone who projects as a high-end, statistical producer. Like, we were high on him when he came into the NBA. Of course, he got injured and whatnot, but like, was he ever really, quote unquote, good? He was decent in his second.
Yeah, in the NBA, he has not. Right. Like, he has shown nothing in his 3 years in the NBA to suggest he's a $7 million player. You are still just gambling on the upside at this point.
Right. And that's kind of where I'm at. I just think if you are armed with $50 million coming into a summer, like, I just expected more than what they ended up with. And I fully recognize that a lot of that is Thad Young doing the whole DeMar DeRozan sign and trade, taking on Al-Farouq Amino. I get it. But Doug McDermott and a chance on Zach Collins, that's the best you could do in the free agency market? And this is not me ripping on San Antonio. It's honestly a legitimate question about, has the interest level in San Antonio just dwindled so much that this was the best you could do? Like, is that the situation that we're looking at? Was this really them scouring the market and getting back the information that no, the best player you can possibly hope to acquire via cap space is Doug McDermott?
Yeah, and Zach. Well, I mean, there weren't that many guys that changed hands this offseason. Maybe you could argue they would have been better off re-signing Patty Mills or re-signing DeMar DeRozan, but we don't know that was on the table yet either.
Correct.
Like, those guys might have just wanted to get out and not be, because like San Antonio is very clearly in the midst of, call it a rebuild, call it a retool, whatever you want. They missed the playoffs in 2 straight years. It doesn't seem likely that they're going to make it this year. Guys in their 30s probably don't want to come to this team right now.
Right. No. Well, why they shouldn't go after 30-year-olds, but like there were a lot of restricted free agents this year.
Yeah, like why didn't they go after a John Collins, for instance?
Yeah, like you know how I feel about John Collins, but like it's seemingly a lot of teams still love him. So and maybe the Spurs just aren't one of them. But like, he signed for $125, so that's $25 million a year. What if they offered him a max, right? Like straight on, full on max. No, yeah, I know, I agree. I wouldn't give him that either. But like, it's almost better than at least just doing this. I mean, I just don't see the point here. How is Doug McDermott going to change anything? What is unless this is step one of a much larger plan we are just not seeing the full image of right now. It just kind of feels like they're throwing darts at the board, hoping to hit something, which I guess is true for everyone on some metaphorical level, but I don't know. This seemed weird. It seemed like an overpay.
I'm not as down on their offseason as you seem to be. Like, I think what they are doing is, signing these guys to stay afloat right now. They don't want to be Houston or Detroit last year or OKC. Like, they don't want to completely tank, especially with Popovich still in the fold. Maybe that's an option once he retires, but they're not going to send him out that way. So they get some veterans in there to replace what Rudy Gay, DeMar DeRozan, Patty Mills brought to the table. You're still building around the young guys. You're still, at least, for now, with Murray, White, Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, Jakob Poeltl. So like they're actually a pretty deep team. It's just, as we've talked about repeatedly, this, they don't have a top 25 player. So these feel like moves that raise their floor more than raise their ceiling.
Yeah.
Like, they won't be one of the 4 worst teams in the NBA, but they're also not going to be one of the 10 best. They'll be like right in that. Maybe we can make it to the play-in tournament, but 10, 11, 12 mix.
Right. That I agree with you with. I totally agree with that. Like with that mindset that this is about lifting the floor a little bit, which they did. I just wonder if they did it the right way. That's fair. I know that when this hits YouTube, Spurs fans are going to be in the comments and they're going to be super upset.
Super pissed.
Yeah. No, but look, it's because I expect more from the Spurs. I really do. Is that unfair? Maybe they just not that team that we always try to associate them with. Like maybe they are just turning the corner. They're trying to do something else. But like you talked about building around the youngsters. You know how much I love Dejounte Murray.
Yeah.
I still wonder if he's the best player on your team, how far can you go? What is your ultimate end game here? They don't have that one player to build around. They don't have that 2-man, 3-man young core that is really good enough to kind of structure everything around. So shouldn't there be a sense of urgency in trying to identify a player of that ilk and then aggressively go after that individual? Or is this just part of the plan where they, like you said, stay the course because of Pop, they wait it out, and then presumably at that point in time, they're going to be worse. Then they bottom out and they hopefully get a top draft pick. Is that the route? Because that seems drawn out and unnecessary. Yeah.
I mean, Ben Simmons has been connected to them, so I think they'll sniff around. They have plenty of these. We heard that from Shams Charania recently that the Suns are investigating Thad Young. Like he's on the final year of his deal, $14.2 million. I would be surprised if Thaddeus Young is still on this team after the trade deadline. I think they will try to parlay some of these guys into pieces that help them more long term. But yeah, I mean, it's a fair question of like, what's the long-term vision here? How are they going to acquire that type face of the franchise type player? Yep. When the main return for Kawhi Leonard was DeMar DeRozan and Jakob Poeltl, DeMar DeRozan's now gone. You only get Thad and Aminu back in the pick in 2025, I believe. So like, you lost a top 5 player in the NBA for what amounted to nothing of real value in terms of long-term team building. So it's fair to wonder how the Spurs get out. Like right now, it feels like they're stuck on that treadmill of mediocrity. And like how they get out from here, I'm not sure.
No, and that's the next point I wanted to bring up, because like you have a guy like Lonnie Walker, right? Mm-hmm. I think you and I both agree that we've seen enough of Lonnie to know that he's not someone who warrants a major extension. Like he's probably somewhere in the $8 to $10 million range, if that. Mm-hmm. Maybe I don't even think he's worth that much. I think he's a shooter who doesn't really hit a whole lot of shots and is not really a well-rounded all-around player. So why haven't they pivoted? They've spent 3 years with this guy. He's still on the roster. If they don't give him an extension this year, which they might, we don't know. If they might, but if they don't, then he goes into restricted free agency next year, and then what?
Right?
Like why haven't you moved on from him before? Especially when you have this guard logjam. Like you've had Derek White and Dejounte Murray on the roster for a long time now. Like it's not like this is all thrown together last minute. They've had years to try to figure this thing out. Mm-hmm. And try to move pieces around or make some sort of consolidation move or whatever, and like crickets. I just wonder what they're doing, and maybe I'm losing sight of the big picture. Maybe RC Buford and Greg Popovich and everyone is like listening to this right now, laughing their asses up because they have a plan. Like, fine, that'd be great. I just have no clue what that plan is, because they are hiding it very, very well, which of course leads me to believe them. Well, leads me to fear rather that they don't have a plan. I hope they do, but like looking over this roster and looking over some of their decision and even non-decisions, I'm skeptical of what they're trying to achieve.
I think those are fair criticisms.